Peace, HHDG. We are on another episode of HHDG Media podcast. And as always, big shout out to everyone tuning in right now through our YouTube channel, as well as our Facebook group, HHDG, which stands for Hip Hop Discussion Group. As you can see, we have our website on the bottom banner, hhdgmedia.com. There you can go check out latest music that we put up there, as well as our previous written interviews, our merch, and upcoming events. And this is always made possible through our 5-owner company. Big shout out to everyone. Rock Vader KB, T. Smith, the Mayor, Skelly Top, and myself, Wiki. For tonight, we have a multi-talented guest who's got a ill, smooth flow that complements his own production. And he I like to say that when I hear him rhyme, he feels like he has a bit of an old soul at the same time. The way he can seamlessly go over tracks, and also the way he collaborates with others as well within his inner circle, which we'll talk about a few of those members as well. But a key thing is he has his own signature style, and with that comes also his faith, which is definitely prevalent throughout the projects. If you've been listening to him, you know. Definitely knowledge of self, and a big respect on that, comes a long way. And with some of the people that he's worked with, like Isaac, Born King Mathematics Allah, Dango 4-Lane, he's just a few of them, Grandpa Scooter. He got a lot of, I would say, dynamic, creative people that he's worked with that have that chemistry that work well with him. And just right now, this month, March 7th, he released the new project, The World Famous, produced entirely by himself. And we'll definitely talk about his journey, starting with, from what I know, I'm sure there's more out there because I know some EPs, but Instant Classics Volume 1, definitely dope. And I love that first track, Mathematics. It really set the tone and came off dope with the guest features on there. And he's also hailing from Toronto, which I still need to get up there. Another key component to being multi-talented is he has some other gifts that we'll dive into. I'm not going to mention them just yet. I'll let him, let us know about it. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Chris Jose.
Peace. Thank you for the introduction. That was great, man. Accurate. Yeah, well said. Thank you, man.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
But yeah.
Now, starting off, I wanted to ask, is that your actual name that you're going by?
Chris Jost? Yeah, Chris Jost, Christopher Jost is my actual name that I go by. Yeah. Yeah, so on the last EP, or on the last album that I just dropped, The World Famous, a lot of people ask me why the actual cover says World Famous Supreme Being.
Mm-hmm.
Supreme Being is actually my righteous name.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, within the 5% Nation, Supreme Being Allah. And so, kind of like how rappers, they save their government name for that's what's like near and dear and personal to them. I almost kind of, reverse it in the as to what some of the other guys are doing. Like I find that the righteous name is closer to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. Yep. Now, was this something, you had family members? You grew up this way as well?
No.
Okay.
I grew up in a very Christian household, Catholic household.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely had like older cousins, putting me on like low key, with really without me really knowing what it was, but like feeding me Wu-Tang and feeding me books and like, stuff like that. Yeah, and then as I kind of got older, it's something that I kind of grew into. I met the right people, Born King. That's my educator. Yeah.
Gotcha. Now on the trying to remember the EP, Borrow Time, the first track, Do the Knowledge.
Oh yeah.
That really, if you're not familiar with Chris Jose, that really brings you into your world.
Right. Yeah. No, so a lot of my EPs and albums, more recently within last 2.5 years, I want to say. I always start them off with someone who's near and dear to our family tree. King Asiatic Allah. That's who educated SG Knack. But that was Born King's, brother, his like, and word is bond. Like that's one of those builders, and that's that kind of mentality that that I strive for, that I try to perfect, and he sets that tone out for me. I let his videos do the talking. Rest in peace, King Asiatic.
Yep. Definitely rest in peace. Yep. Now, being that we're on the subject, have you been to the school in
New
yeah.
York? Yeah. I went a couple times last year for the first time, which was definitely special. Definitely a different feeling. I've been to New York before, and obviously that in itself is like, yo, this is the Mecca of hip hop. But then you get to the school, and at first I was mad intimidated. I got this is the, especially coming from Canada. We almost feel just a little bit more removed, I think, just being so far. So obviously you go there and there's a little bit of like, oh, you're Canadian. They got gods out in Toronto. So there's that a little bit of an intimidation factor. But the older guys, I still remember they were like, yo, this is your school, and I was like, word, this is my school. I was yeah. So yeah, no, I love going there. I'm planning on going back in June. Got some stuff lined up in New York, so make my usual voyage.
That's dope. Definitely dope. So, what was the like you said, throughout the years you were given certain jewels here and there? What made you completely go all in?
Kind of when I broke off, and just became like super independent. So I grew up not too far outside of Toronto, maybe about like an hour away from the actual city. At 17, I moved over to the city and was living on my own and stuff like that. And that's really when I was, let's say, able to really dive into it. Yep.
Nice. Now, being you're a young man, are there others around you that you've influenced as well?
Yeah, 100%. There's other people that that bear witness, not only to what I'm doing, but what shit, I like to call them family. Like what we're doing out here in Toronto with Baker's Club and Raz and Griffall and Six Letter and all those cats. Like it's definitely an influence, I think, in the culture of Toronto, in the Toronto hip hop scene, and the and just the culture out here. We're definitely making that impact where it needs to be made.
Definitely agree with that. Yep. Now, I'm not sure what this acronym is, but what is WLFS?
That was a whole lot of fly shit. Yeah, a whole lot of fly shit. I like that's just kind of what just. It's kind of a silly way of trying to explain, what I'm about outside of, I guess in the materialistic sense. 100%. You know, even if you see like behind me, a whole lot of fly shit. It's just like, you know what I'm saying? Like you got like, you know, records on the walls, fitteds everywhere. Like that. It's being able to make what's fly to you, what's actually fly. Like I think a lot of especially my generation, the generation under us even, they have a very twisted view of what's fly, right? Because somebody else draws that up for them. You know, whereas like, you know, whatever you think is fly, even like that's kind of a tag in some of my songs, especially when I produce for other people, a whole lot of fly shit. And it's like, shit, the mainstream wouldn't necessarily consider this fly. It's like it's a crazy ass soul chop. You know what I mean? But it's some fly shit to us, to the people who appreciate it. So that's kind of what that means, to build on it.
Definitely. I feel that. Now, being that I'm older, and there's certain times where I go to certain hip hop outlets where, you know, the vibe is a little mixed. So you got a little bit of old with the new.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not the type of person to knock what they do. You know, I want, you know, if I'm not too familiar with it and it interests me, you know, I want to build off of that. You know what's up and everything.
100%.
So part of that me saying this is, when you're out there in Toronto is like a melting pot of so much, including, you know, hip hop. So with the music and the vibe and everything, what else is out there that's, you know, with the music wise?
Yo, I mean, I think in the past couple of years, what's really been a driving force for Toronto's music scene is like live performance, so instrumentalists, stuff like that, and DJs, specifically vinyl DJs. Like Toronto has, I think, some of the best spots in the world. You know, hi-fi listening bars and listening rooms and stuff like that.
Oh wow, okay.
I mean, shit, it's not written out there on Google and stuff. Like you'll still find the best ones in Japan and New York and stuff like that. But like, you know, there is definitely there is a sort of driving force behind that niche that seems to just be getting bigger and bigger. I actually work at one of them called 915 DuPont, and it's just like, and you look at it from maybe 2 years ago to what it is now, and like, you know, there is a love for live music. There's a love for analog music, right? So that's one thing about Toronto, is that I think we're very performative, and we can appreciate the artistry behind it.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
What is your first official release?
My first official release is not even out on streaming platforms anymore. I think I've tried to look for it a couple times and I couldn't even find it anymore. But maybe 2016, 2017, like that long ago. Yeah, it's been a minute. I don't even remember what it's called really. Maybe Power Trip or something like that. Power Trip, I think. Or maybe that was the song. I don't remember, but it was a long time ago. I've been releasing music officially since maybe maybe for the past 6 years, 7 years. Yeah, you know, just I even saw a little bit of that Griffall interview that you did, where he talks about the introduction, how Grip Tape was the introduction. And you know, and I think just like with a lot of artists, it's really just it's refining the craft. It's refining who you want to be as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to keep changing and forever changing. You know what I mean? Like who I was at 16, 17 is far from the person I am now. You know what I mean? And who I was then might not be what I want to showcase now. It might have not been the right guy to listen to his music. You know what I mean? So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that goes to what you were mentioning before about not following the norms of what's out there. You know, you gotta have your own path.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's nothing wrong with being influenced, but at the same time, you are your own creative person. So you want to be distinct. And that's why I like about how your flow and the content that you rhyme about just is enmeshed with your production.
Peace.
Because with a lot of the projects, you know, I'll be honest with you, I feel like if you were to work with Cooking Soul, you familiar with him?
Oh yeah.
Just did
Oh,
work
most definitely.
yeah. With his production and with your flow and your content, I think that would be perfect. You know.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Oh, he's one of those ones. He's one of those ones. As soon as I'm in the room with him, I'm ready to go. Yep. There's a couple on my list, and he's definitely one of them.
Dope. Now I want to give people a visuals of one of my favorite tracks from you, and that is Tea Time.
Okay.
Off Then Came Death and Took the Butcher.
Yep.
Tell us about the track and the video before we play it for the people.
Yeah, Tea Time came about. I kind of took a little bit of a break from music just to really refine things. That was kind of the point where I was changing gears sonically as to what I wanted to do. And Tea Time was the first single I dropped about maybe a year and a half to 2 years since my last project before that. And yeah, it was really about just you know, it's called Tea Time because I was really just like sitting, drinking my tea, just, you know, contemplating and taking my time with it. Yeah.
All right, let me get that up real quick. There we go.
Whole lot of fly shit, son. Big dog told me it was tea time over tea time. My feet up on that incline, make this shit too easy. God, someone help a brother rewind. I've been on my recline shit. The fader dropping deep down. This project took a minute. Got it popping back in B-Town. Surround sound, my shit be playing like a fucking movie. No Spielberg behind Zimmer type of groove you see. This is not for movie screens. This is not for feature streams. I be cooking all this dope for the famine, for my fiends. Big dreams. Still dreaming like I'm Nas and Ye. Bust the port Cavassier. I took off real fast. Missed my departure. Got you watching when I'm dropping. Ay, I be on that walk up from the dead shit. Threw my FTP up in the washer. This Vince Carter in 2000 off the marker. Sway, I be going harder. I see them all trying to compensate. Watch the rate. My shit going like them gas prices. With this gas, you gon' have to pay about half your wage. All I wanna do is cut these bitches off. No handle. Woke up from the crib, they did my dogs. Dismantle. They got big payouts off the front. It's crazy. All I see is everything I'm not. So hate me. I got everything you need and more. Get with it. Till I'm left out dying on the floor. I spit it. Don't get tripped up trying to catch a trick. I'm saying you can't hold it down if you can't sit. Don't play it. All I wanna do is cut these bitches off, no handle. Woke up from the crib, they said my dogs dismantle. They got big payouts off the front, it's crazy. All I see is everything I'm not, so hate me. I got everything you need and more, get with it. Till I'm left out dying on the floor, I spit it. Don't get tripped up trying to catch a trick. I'm saying, you can't hold it down if you can't sit. Don't play it. All I wanna do is cut these bitches off, no handle. Woke up from the crib, they said my dogs.
He met two of his gang on the road. He said, peace. Good thing to say, cause they was plenty scared, knees shaking and teeth jumping.
I forgot about that outro. I love that joint. Man, I completely forgot about that. Yep.
Tea Time off the 2023 EP. Then Came Death and Took the Butcher. Now, is on the video, I see how your setup was. Is it still similar to that?
It's similar. It's definitely similar. It's right behind me right here.
Okay.
Just new gear. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Just upgraded some things. Yeah, that's really about it. More or less the exact same though.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, this is a two-part question. One, what was the first thing that you started doing in hip hop? Was it MCing or production, engineering?
So so I kind of had a unique experience that I'm very grateful for, where somebody actually told me this the other day, where I kind of just mastered all the elements and just kept adding them to my arsenal.
Nice.
But I started off DJing.
Okay.
That was my first thing. A group out in Toronto called the Grassroots. You might be familiar. But a DJ named Swift LaRock, DJ and producer, he mentored me. Taught me how to DJ when I was 12, 13 years old, like super young. That's I kind of got into it. I started off on controllers. My older cousin convinced my parents, and he put up some money, and they got me like a real tiny, shitty little DJ controller. And like not even a year later, I was like, okay, I'm done with this. I need the turntables. Like I need Serato. This is what I need to be doing.
Yeah.
And then obviously once you get a pair of turntables, I mean, I think I see some records in the background where you are. It kind of once you get some turntables and you get that first record, then it's like, okay, it's time for the second one. And then second now is turned into, I don't know how many thousand, but
before you know it. Yeah.
So I
see
yeah, there you go. That's a solid collection. Yeah. But yeah, so then I met Swift when I was digging for some vinyl one day.
Mm-hmm.
And he was kind of like, yeah, I teach people, I teach people how to DJ and whatever. And yeah, he took me from there. Slowly got into production after that. Because as you're buying records and you start recognizing the samples. Remember early on, it was I wasn't great at it, but like I was catching Kanye samples and Common samples and stuff like that, and you kind of it breaks it down for you differently when you hear it in reverse. So that's really when I fell in love with like soul, funk, and started wanting to produce. I got into that.
Nice.
Got into production and would just like really went heavy on sonics and audio quality and stuff like that, and like really cared about the nitty gritty, and was doing my homework and decided I wanted to work at a studio, whatever it was, as a mixing engineer or a mastering engineer. I didn't really care. So I remember I skipped school one day. I skipped school for a couple days when I was 16 back in high school. And just knocked on every single studio door in Toronto. I took that train and I knocked on every single studio door, handing out this bullshit resume of like, oh yeah, I'm a musician, like bullshit resume. Everyone turned me down, except for this one, and it ended up being a Lacquer Channel mastering studio, which is hands down like one of the most notable in Canada. And Noah Mintz taught me, he straight up told me, he was like, this is the most boring studio you'll ever work at. You'll learn a lot, but like mastering is crazy boring.
Mm-hmm.
But like that taught me at like a professional level how to engineer. And although it was mastering, it definitely still taught me how to mix as well. And then from there it was rapping, because I was making all these beats, and I felt like at a certain point I had like some some shit that was maybe too good to give to these dudes over here. Like maybe this is something I got to do for myself.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't hear anybody else on this.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave it a try, and from there it was just since then just been building it up, and still using all those elements that I had in my arsenal to help me perfect it today.
That is a dope story right there, man.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Noah.
Yep. Big shout out to Noah Mintz. Yep.
That's great. And see, and you're still young, so I love hearing stories like this, because that drive and determination to seek more knowledge also goes hand in hand with your faith.
Yep.
That's dope. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I was definitely one of those kids that like nerded out. Like even way before music, it was basketball. I used to play basketball, but for some reason I cared way more about like NBA history and like who scored the most amount of points. Like I could name everything. And so I think once I fell in love with hip hop and with music, I kind of took it to that same extent where, like, especially I'll never forget, like, I probably spent maybe 2-3 years as a kid, like, watching every single hip hop documentary, DJing documentary, production documentary, you know. It's really just like, I think more than the determination and the dedication, it has to come from like a place of passion and like and love for this culture.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yep.
Yes. So you told your story of how you got into DJing. My uncle is the one that got me into DJing.
Okay.
So he had his equipment at my grandmother's house. So there was times where he wasn't home.
Right.
And I noticed that the equipment wasn't hooked up. One day he came home and he saw everything, hooked up, and I was on his turntables. So he pulled me to the side. He said, "You did this yourself?" And then, from there, he just started, showing me everything. And I got familiar with the equipment and everything. And some of my father's old stuff. My father had reel-to-reels still at his grandmother's house in there too. So once again, absorb everything.
Just soak it all in. Soak in as much as you can. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Great times, man. So MCing, once you picked up and you, like you said, you wanted to rock over your beats. Was your content the same as it is now, or did it, evolve or just elevate?
No, it definitely evolved. And I think a lot of it had to do with what I was soaking in, at that time, being 15, 16, 17 years old. It was definitely just more immature. It was definitely just more immature, like what any other 15, 16, 17-year-old would have been thinking about or deciding to rap about, whether it be to like catch the attention of your homies or like, trying to be the man, like shit like that. Like that's kind of what it was, versus now it's really about I think if I had to sum it up briefly, it's really about elevating yourself. Yeah.
True that. I gotta say, your journey, I would say probably from 2022 to now, I mean, consistent. I mean, you had the instant classics, the borrowed time, the aerodynamic joints, the other one we mentioned before. I noticed, even though a lot of artists now, they have this mentality that they got to keep putting it out. But I noticed with the spacing of your projects that you took the time, put that thought in of how you wanted it to be released.
Yeah, I think a little bit of that thought process also just has to do with the with like a certain level of perfectionism that I have. I'm making music nonstop every single day, consistently, right? And so you can just imagine how big the vault is. But how many of those are how many of those shots that I'm putting up do I feel are perfect swishes? You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the way that I look at it. And so there's been so many times where like I could have dropped something, but the perfectionist in me was like, I could also wait another 2 weeks, see what shots I put up throughout those 2 weeks, and then see where we're at. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the way that my creative process works in terms of actually putting together a package that I can give to people.
Right. Got you. Now I want to know about the core people that I've seen consistently on your projects, and how y'all met. Some of these might be longtime friends. Let's start with Isaac.
Isaac, yeah. We did Borrow Time together. Yeah, so Isaac is actually a little bit of a funny story. It kind of happened. It kind of happened out of nowhere. He's a producer that posts a lot of his beats online. And sometimes when I'm too lazy to plug in my hard drive and go digging through all my files, I'll pull up some YouTube beats. And I just remember thinking, yo, this kid is nice. I'm going through every single beat, just going bar for bar on him. And like, yo, word is out the blue. I get an Instagram message, and at first my head didn't even register it, who it was. But his name was Isaac, and yeah, and at first I was like, all right, yeah, it's just another dude who like wants to send me beats. I let him send it to me, but like, yeah, I wasn't thinking too much of it. And I think he sent me YouTube links, and I noticed like I liked every single one of these, and I kind of took a minute to double check it. I was like, word, that's really him. And yeah, so like that was just like that was a little bit of a cool experience for me because someone who I've been looking for kind of found me. Yeah, but we made a great project together. We definitely got more in the vault that hopefully will come to fruition one day. Yeah.
Dope.
That's kind of the beauty of social media nowadays. It's it's not just who's around the corner or who's in your city. The whole world is in your hands,
Yeah. Literally.
He's all the way out in Minnesota, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Right. So it's a ways from here, which is dope.
That's dope. Dope. Grandpa Scooter,
yeah. Me and him have kind of had a little, just again, like he's out in LA. And just through social media, like we both have just been fucking with each other for quite some time. Yeah, like he's just like a good dude who like I'll hit up every once in a while out the blue. And every time I hit him up, he's like, yo, I need some new shit. I need some more beats. And I send him, he sends it back, and it's and it's always like some crazy shit I want to throw on a project or just, just get out there, period. Yeah.
Dope. I like what he did on the track Porzingis.
Yep. Yeah, he did his thing on that. And the funny thing too is like he was like, yo, I don't think you're gonna like this, but like I can't rap that fast. So like I just slowed it down for you. And I heard it and I was like, yo, like because I don't know if I've ever heard a beat really do that where it just like it's not like it cuts down into halftime or cuts down within the same BPM. No, we really just shifted it down like as much as we needed to for him to be able to rap on it. So, and it just gave it a completely different feeling for that second verse. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a smooth transition too. Who else we got? Kodo. Am I saying it right?
Kodo. Oh yeah, Kodo, okay. Man. Yo, these cats, maybe about 2 years ago, I got put onto them. And they're out in London, Ontario, which is like maybe 3-4 hours out, closer by like that Windsor-Detroit border. And I probably met like these 4 or 5 cats from London, Ontario. Again, like not thinking too much. But they've all just like they've been shining, like just like the most talented group of brothers that you'll ever meet. Kodo, Insight, and even they link up with some of the Toronto cats like Thelonious and all that whole crew. They're called For the Tribe. That's the name of their crew, and they're all super dope. But Kodo was like the first guy that I met, and I've been rocking with him since. I think me and him did a show together. That's the first time we met. And before the show, I was just like, yo, come over to the crib. Like, let's cook something. Let's do something. And we did it. And yeah.
You said For the Tribe?
For the Tribe. So for DA Tribe.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I Definitely gotta check that out.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Who else? Shady.
Yeah. Again, just like these are very recent discoveries for myself and relationships that I built. Shade, yeah, he's from Toronto as well. Him and Gritfall had released some music. And Gritfall had asked me to master it. I had never heard this cat before. But I had to master it for him because I told him I'd do it, and yeah, I heard it and it was just blown away. Come to find out, he's only been rapping for the past like I think like 6 months, 7 months, like less than a year. And I get like the way me and Gritfall broke it down is just like he's been studying the rap game a lot longer than he's been rapping himself.
Gotcha.
But yeah, he's a real cool brother. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, you just never know how that talent's gonna develop.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So since you brought up Gritfall, let's talk about him.
Yeah, that's my brother. That's my A. Like, yeah, me and Gritfall, like he's one of the few dudes who get as excited about me at like the small things, at like just hearing like a crazy sample or like coming up on this super rare record or like, some shit like that. And I think we both just have that just like that energy and playfulness and youthfulness towards making music. We get excited by the little things that don't really matter. And then I think that's what makes us such great collaborators because sometimes we won't even work on music. I'll just go link him and we'll just play each other's shit back and forth. And the whole time, like we're just sitting in the car, the whole night. He'll play me a few beats, I'll play him a few back.
Yeah.
And yeah, so me and Gritfall, like, yeah, that's kind of, yeah, he's a great brother. Yep.
That's dope. Who else? I'm trying to think of somebody else. I think it was some.
You mentioned you'd mentioned Dango.
Yeah,
Portland.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, Dango Portland. Yeah. Man, that's my man. Yeah. Again, similar to him, he's all the way out in Detroit.
Yep.
So at first it was definitely just like a social media phone type of relationship, and I was working with this homegirl at a restaurant who grew up in Windsor, so not too far from Detroit. And she was like, "Yo, I think you'd really like this. You'd really like this rapper. Like, you should hit him up." And I go on his page, and he's talking knowledge of self stuff, and I'm like, "Oh," and I'm 17 at this time, and he's talking all this knowledge of self stuff, and I'm like, "Yo, this is crazy. Like, this is who I want to be rocking with." And so and he had all these accolades too. I remember he had pictures with, I'm not going to name drop nobody, but he had pictures and just like, I could tell he had connections with like some serious people. And so, yeah, so I hit him up and he never hit me back. And I was like, damn, like, don't worry. One day it'll happen type of thing. Like, I'll get there. And then shit, maybe like 2 years ago now, I just hit him up again. Yeah, maybe a little bit more than 2 years. I just hit him up again. And I guess he saw my message this time. He hit me back. And I think it was off the Shrink the Homegirl too. I think I had to get her to send him a message. But he listened to my shit and he just fucked with it immediately.
That's dope.
And I think like the very next day we hopped on a phone call. And I was telling him I'm trying to get knowledge of self. And he literally just like, he was like, "You're gonna go talk to this guy and he's gonna tell you what to do." And that guy ended up being like, the main educator out in the Detroit area, Minister Freedom. And he connected me with Born King, just like that.
Wow.
So I owe.
Yeah, it works.
I owe Dango a whole lot. He really, he helped me out in so many, just even just evolving over these past 2 to 3 years as like a person. You know, that's really like, that's family. That's not even like a music relationship or nothing. Like, that's really family. And, you know, he finally made it out to Toronto before we were about to drop the project. Me and him did a show out here. And then just like back and forth, me and him did New York. I went over to Detroit and we did Cleveland and stuff like that. So yeah, you know, that's family right there. Dango 4-Lane.
That is dope.
Yep.
Man. Big shout out to Swan. And also happy belated.
Happy belated. Yeah, true indeed.
Dope. So now, being that we're talking about Dango, we got to talk about the 2024 project you did together with him.
Yep.
Aerodynamic.
Oh,
big shout out to Bars Over BS.
Yep. Big shout out to Bars Over BS. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, that project was it was done pretty quickly. I kind of just laid out, I think it's nine tracks on that. I laid out maybe 12 beats. And we were just kind of fitting in verses where we sound fit. Sometimes Dango would get would write first, and I would follow. Sometimes I would write first, Dango would follow. You know, so I want to say we did that project in maybe less than a month. Which I thought was different for me, definitely being that I like to take a little bit more time, but it was just, we had both caught heat at that point. And that's one of my favorite projects that I've ever done. It's definitely the project that kind of brought me to a different level. In terms of just social media and and stuff like that. Yeah, definitely.
That was dope. And also shout out to Cedar Laws.
Yeah, Cedar Laws. Well. He's so for those of you who don't know, and maybe you don't know this, Ian, but he's actually from Japan, but he's been out in Toronto for the past 2 years.
I did not know.
Yeah. So he's been out in Toronto, just soaking it all in. So yeah, shout out to Cedar. Yeah, great producer.
Dope. And with this project, I gotta say you definitely flexed all your talents on this.
Thank you, G. Yep. Thank you.
And one of those talents we still haven't talked about is the visual arts.
Yep. We I can't even believe I almost forgot about that. Yep. So all of my cover art is done by me, and most of it's hand drawn. That was just another one of those skills. Like I was doing, I came up when I was, again, real young. I don't know what was going on with 8, 9, 10-year-old Chris, but I was drawing pencil portraits, practicing realism and stuff.
Nice.
And again, it was just one of those things I didn't really want to continue to do because, I'd fallen in love with something else. And, I kind of brought that back in a different way where, I'm just trying to have fun with it. Again, just trying to encapsulate a certain imagery that I think fits my style. Yeah.
And what car is that on the cover?
You know what? I actually don't know. I don't know what car that is, but in Japan, they make these toys that have these elongated tops. It's like a vintage toy. And I stumbled across some of these old adverts for them, which is why it's a 2D car in the picture. But I stumbled across that, and I was like, this is dope as hell. I got to use this.
Because when I first saw it, I was thinking it might be a Suzuki. So I gotta look it up. See what it is.
Now there's no actual car brand on it. I think it's just the branded toy that's on the advert.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's go into Self Savior remix.
Yeah. So that's on a, I don't even know if I want to call it upcoming yet, because we don't really know where it's going. As of right now, it's still very early stages. But Born King, and maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but Born King has just been that hip hop god. He came up, you know, I can't even tell you all the names because it's too many names, but like all the Wu-Tang cats, you know, just anybody who's a 5%er who's seen a little bit of success and the highest level of success. Like Born King is tapped in with him. And so, you know, he's kind of pulling together all of his resources to release a project. It's kind of a continuation of some work he was doing back in the day called the Knowledge of Self series, which is really about just bringing the knowledge, you know, through the form of music and hip hop. So that's kind of what that was made for. Because when we made the Self Savior track, the original one, he was like, "Oh, so I'm having this one? Are you gonna give this one to me?" And I was like, "Hell no, I'm not giving this one to you. I'll let you take a remix though." So yeah, and actually that was the first time me and Gritfall had actually gotten on a track together. You know, that I think that really kind of hit it off in terms of like our chemistry on a track. I don't think either of us had really envisioned it or been able to hear it up until that point. So shout out to Born King for that. And that video was shot right after a show that was me, Dango, and Gritfall. Gritfall was performing that show too.
Nice. Dope. Let's get into it.
Yo, we gonna rock this song called Self Savior, man. Self Savior, we know and understand that in order to save others, you must save yourself first. You know what I'm saying? And that's what the science is, you know what I mean? So we deal with the knowledge of equality today. You know what I mean? And equality is the balance of all things, and we deal with each one, teach one. You know what I'm saying? So this is what the science is. My name is Born King. I be the older dog. I just came to let somebody get the show love from my man Swan.
Take flight through the city, how I'm moving nice. Can't write exact you off a track, I'm out here getting pies. And through the knowledge, and you do it twice. Then you understand how I'm moving through the culture right every night. Your shit toy, my shit built to destroy. I got too much of rubber bands, I need banks to hold it like Lloyd. The unemployed millionaire of Michigan of mine. Either you slave brain, a game change and peep the signs. Keep the heat like irons, or like Miami Vices. The way the treble moving, nice and tune with the most high. I'm in tune with you, later now, wide giants. I don't play, I let it vibrate right through the spine. It lit in clogged sinuses, the mind is clear, bright. Can't stare into my shine, God is blinded with the ice. It's bonded with my word, I don't speak a damn lie. Self Savior, the lost tale of a soldier's plight.
Yeah, Self Savior, the lost tale of a soldier's plight. Yeah. Self Savior, the lost tale of a soldier's plight. It's the return of the Zeekers. The Seekers speak with unlimited teachings, reaching deep in the depths of desolate bottoms. Feed as I can reach it. Energy, synchronicity, feel like shrouds of speakers fastened around the ears of the deaf, dumb, and the non-believers. Here's a secret, you God, and that's not a secret. Handsome features feature my carcass next to the crown of Jesus. Smiling beneath the sea where the wisdom is on the surface. Mountains I can reach it. I unsheath my sword when evil approaches. Shinobi soulless mortals meet Quan Chi in the duel for immortality. Battle me while the Reaper poses. Something about the motion. In my motive, I will end your motor. The Ric Flair drip got me admitting solar. Storms came fast to those in my cipher, whispering good night when I end your life and bring you to the light. Immaculate evening for bereavement. Dressed in a cloak of white. Show you right, self-savior, the lost tale of a soldier's plight. What? Yeah. Self-savior, the lost tale of a soldier's plight. Show you right. Yeah, self-savior, the lost tale of a soldier's plight.
Between us is grit the meanest. I mean it, different demeanor. See, we can't even get even. I breathe and secrete it. Cleave it the neck, any beat I'ma bleed it. Leave it in the bleachers, just speechless. I rolled up instrumentation in place of reefer. From the soil beneath, I rest, never sleep. Saving myself by getting degrees like reps in a superset scheme. Put together a medley of melodies just to set free. Save yourself, please. It's the only way to inflect peace on your cipher. Knowledge to born and then back to one again. Son of man, ripping the track to 100 strands. Fuck the grams. This should get realer and realer every day. They lying if they said this job easy like a vanilla cake. Life ain't give me shit but some ass and a glass of lemonade. Heaven on your brain and studying how you serenade. Flip, jump, ollie, the crack in the broken cement. If you ain't talking shit that could save us, then I don't wanna hear it. I don't wanna hear it.
I want to shout out the guards in the building. Thanks to the guards. His love is definitely in the motherfucking building. Man, 6-up. Be the great truth. This is family right here. This song give us a family. You know what I mean? So y'all.
Self-savior, the remix.
Yo, no, that's yeah. Again, like some of these videos, some of these songs, you kind of forget about them because you think about the next one or you think about the most recent one. Again, that one, that was one of them ones. Like just you have everybody who's important to you in that video. We had all come together that night. Yeah. And even Born King said it best. It's family. It's the whole family right there. Baker's Club and and all the young gods that that are in the city. Yeah.
Indeed. And shout out to Gritfall. I think it was either last week or the week before. Him and Raz just opened up for AZ.
Yep.
That's dope. That's dope, man.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And every one of his projects has been consistent and dope, man. From the debut, the Skate Home, and still a fan of the Indian Milk Cake beat tape.
Yeah,
that's my joint right there.
Yep. Yeah. Oh man, if only everybody in the whole world could hear what that kid got in his hard drive. Like I'm telling you, that kid's nuts.
Dope. Now, I want to dive in a little bit more about the visual arts. You said you were doing portraits back then.
Yep.
What when you make your covers and also just in general, what just flows off your mind to draw?
Again, it's kind of the same thing with like Whole Lot of Flash shit. Like it's like really whatever catches my eyes. That's different. That's maybe unseen. I like to take like a sample digging approach to everything, whether it's clothes, whether it's whether it's like what pen I'm buying. Like I don't want some like I want to have that pen that has that specific ink. You know what I mean? So it's the same thing with like trying to find like reference images, shit that I just find eye catching. A lot of it's vintage, just like samples. It's things from the past that I think need to be brought back to life in a new way.
Agree. Yep.
So that's kind of how I start, is just by collecting images and ideas. And I'll take a little bit of this and a little bit of that and kind of blend it all up, mix it all up. So like that world famous, the world famous Supreme Being album cover was the first one that I didn't really draw, aside from some of that typography. But the background of that photo is from one of my favorite places in the city, 915 DuPont. It's a hi-fi listening bar. That disco ball is in that room. And then and because that's really just throughout the creation of that project, that's kind of where I was spending the most amount of time. That's kind of where a lot of it, a lot of the sound and the inspiration came from. And then that typography, some people managed to catch it, but it's the heated words, from back in the day in New York. Like the world famous Supreme Team,
yep.
they use the same font. Yeah. So yeah, again, just like little bits of this, little bits of that, and try to blend it all together, bring things back to life.
That's dope. We haven't touched too much on family. Is there any other musicians in your family?
No, none whatsoever. No musicians. My grandfather was a little bit of a visual artist, but in a very academic sense. He was a botanist or a botany professor.
Okay.
So he was doing more academic drawings of flowers and stuff.
Yeah.
I've seen pictures of it, and it's like it's the most remarkable drawings you've seen. But no artist. Period. Yeah.
Cool.
I kind of just happen to be that trailblazer. My entire family is pretty consistent. Like it's doctor, lawyer, working in a hospital or working in an office, doing, it's a pretty standard thing. Coming from an Indian background. So yeah, for whatever reason, I decided to be that trailblazer.
And thank you for that, with the music that you've been putting out. With the music that you have been putting out, I wonder if you had one particular skill that you continue to work on, do you think at some point later on that you still would have been the same person you are with all these other talents?
I'll say this, like I feel like a lot of these talents, because I really dedicated a lot of time to studying them and mastering them, it's very hard for me to lose it. So I feel like now over the last 2-3 years, I've really been focusing on rapping, and that had made me a better rapper. That being said, like more recently, I've been DJing a lot more, just because I fucking love it and it's mad fun, and I have the records for it. Why not?
Yeah.
But like I'm kind of just picking right back where I left off. And getting a little bit better every single time with the things that I kind of drop and pick back up. If that answers the question.
It does.
Yeah.
Now, before we talk a little bit more about the world famous, I'm always curious, how did you link up with Bars Over BS?
Oh, that was all Dango. Dango and Ty Ferris go back quite some time. And I was I'm honored to have met Ty Ferris. And I don't know if you've seen the Instagram post.
Amazing lyricist.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, he's crazy in himself. He doesn't even need an introduction or nothing. Ty Ferris is Ty Ferris. Like if you know, he's one of those ones that's been doing it, at that at that consistent level for probably decades now.
Yeah.
But like, one of my favorite memories from this past summer was me linking up with him for the first time. And him and Dango's like, yo, so Ty, what you think about Dango Forlane and Christopher Jones? And he's like, solid. If I got an eye for anything, I got an eye for talent. They're solid. And I was like, yo, Yeah, coming from Ty, that was a big deal for me.
It means a lot.
Definitely put a battery in my back.
That's dope. That's great.
Yeah.
And his business acumen is amazing too. I always give him his props on that, because to see how the independent market is for physicals, and to see what Bars Over BS has been doing.
Yep.
They're not just stagnant, they're creative. They're doing so many different things that keep the fans engaged. And again, like what he was giving you your props, he knows the right people to drop physicals with.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah, no, he we while I did get the chance to spend some time with him, me and Dango were both just picking his brain, like on the business side, not even on the music side, but on the business side. And like, some of those gems he gave us, you could apply to any game. And I was, that was really the special part about it, is he's not even he really just picked his passion of music and decided this is what I'm going to apply all these all this time and dedication into. And yeah, Bars Over BS. Shout out to Bars Over BS, man. They're doing their thing. They're keeping that culture alive.
Absolutely. Yep. So again, new project, the world famous, dropped on March 7th.
Yep.
And you got the perfect intro with Supreme once again.
Yep. King Asiatic, the same older guy. Rest in peace. Yeah, this one was really about kind of highlighting yeah, I think this project for me was really about highlighting everything that I've just kind of experienced in the past 2 years. Specifically since I've gotten a righteous name, and and have been kind of on a very different path. Yeah, and so yeah, he really does sum it right up. He talks about go around the corner, go around the community, and you'll know who and what God is.
Yep.
Right. So, yep.
It's true. And it goes with the saying, it's not the loudest person.
Yep.
Yep. And then you went into Paper Cuts.
Yeah.
When I first heard this, you gave the ill vibe of, the whole jazz atmosphere, the way it started out, and, the build up and the different instruments and players, and how it all comes together. Because that's one thing that I always love about jazz, is they can improvise, they can do so much, and it always comes together in a perfect syncopation.
Yep.
And that's the way this started off, like when the first probably like 15-20 seconds.
Right. Yeah. So that beat, that beat, the sample that I had used for it, I like again, it was just, as soon as I heard that intro, I was like, this is incredible. And I was just listening to it just to listen to the song. I was like, I'm not even gonna, like, I can't sample this. And it was only like 15-20 seconds long of that actual where you have the drums, where you have everything playing all together. And I was like, one, there's too much going on. Two, it's only like fifth. Like I don't really have a lot to work with. And I would be listening to it, and every single time those 15 seconds came on, I'd kind of just come up with a new bar, and I'd be like, it kind of sounds good right there. So yeah, it kind of took those 15 seconds and turned it into a couple minutes, and like, yeah. Oh, yo, G, I think your mic's on mute.
Yep, sorry about that.
Nah,
I was saying the next track, you came with the vocal sample on It's Nothing.
Yep. Yeah, so that one again, like where a lot of the inspiration came from was where my surroundings have been, which was 915 DuPont. And they're just known for one, live jazz and live performance, which is kind of that first track. The second track really touched on like the disco influence that I've been hearing lately. Yeah, and and I really just fell in love with that beat. Because really day to day I'm not listening to too much hip hop. I'm listening here and there, but day to day I'm listening to funk, soul, disco, boogie. That takes up 99% of my time. In comparison to the hip hop that I'm taking in. So that's kind of where that beat came from, and kind of I like to fall in love with the sample first. Because that's the driving force of it all.
Yep.
It's the
I was
feeling you
about to
get
say the
when you
same
listen
thing.
to it. Yeah, the feeling that you get when you listen to it. And I really like paying attention to the sonics of things, whether it's horrible sonics, which can oftentimes give it a lot of character, or incredible sonics, which just makes things crystal clear. And and yeah, that beat was just one of those ones. It hit every single beat. There was a kick on every beat. And yeah, and it was really just it was kind of a quick track that I made. And I think because it was so quick, it was kind of just about how effortless, it kind of comes out, and me kind of flaunting that. And the one dude who can get you, who I can send a beat to in 5 minutes and get a verse back in another 5 is Dango. And I was like, this is all about you. So, I sent the beat over to him. Yeah, he sent it back real quick, because it was nothing to the god, So
yeah, the work ethic.
Yeah.
Yep. And the next track was All I Know.
Yeah.
Many people know this sample, but I like how smooth you played it out, because I know sometimes I've heard it's been a little more up tempo.
Yeah, it's been more up tempo. It's been chopped. There's been drums over it. That one I've been sitting on for maybe 2 years. That whole song I've probably been sitting on it for a couple years. But again, these samples are just things that I just love to listen to. Period. Outside of the sampling context. Which is why I didn't really want to do too much to it, and which is why I let that outro play out for so long. Yeah.
And the next one, featuring Shady and Gripfall.
Yep.
Not the same.
Yep. Yeah. No, that track definitely came from the idea that us young Toronto cats, we're not the same. We're not built the same. We're different. And I think the beat kind of tells you that. I think what we're rapping about tells you that. I think I think even just what we're wearing in the video, the surroundings we're in the video, it's like, again, back to the fly shit. It's very much fly. It's fly, but it's in our own way of being fly.
Right. Yep.
So that's kind of that track. That's one of my favorite tracks I've done. Yep.
Let me get that one up real quick. Let's see. Okay. All right, I got it. Here we go.
can't pump faking. Dumping tapes, I came to kill. Y'all lunch breaking like exhibit, can't afford his meal. That's the dangle on his east side shit. Peace, got this for my D, making it T.O. living. True end, steady getting to the math, I'm him. Left, I'm sprinting locations on the map, getting pinned. Universal type legend with these tracks I whip. Told my earth I'm just beginning, we gon' reach our wins. I preach, but I still act before I teach these children. I'ma meet y'all in the middle, no Malcolm. Creases in the flags ain't allowed less it's inch and a half, please. That's the science that I'm dealing, try to fathom. Only fly on my plasma. Getting by ain't the outcome. I testify I'm living, breathing mad that ain't random. Calculated spasms, I swear I'm breaking atoms from the city cake cut. Made that album, motherfucker, just imagine. Same old Christians in the new set of clothes. Got y'all wishing I spare the change, but I won't. Y'all gon' listen, it's from the brain to the soul. Must I mention we not the same? Same old Christians in the new set of clothes. Got y'all wishing I spare the change, but I won't. Y'all gon' listen, it's from the brain to the soul. Must I mention we not the same?
While y'all be on that same mode, trying to steal my game, Jordan Peele brain mode. I'm Jordan Flu game code. I heard the track sing, the noise from the bells, my name rang sustained, and my range is insane. Oh, the vertical, max 42 on a great play, and I get verbally surgical like it's training day. The best art isn't made in a rush. For me, I'm built different. All I need is a paint and a brush. That's not believe. Before shit pop off, I'm finna leave. Here to teach these babies some peace and humility. I'm from that school face city of thieves. So hide your G's, hide your peeps, hide your stems, hide your seeds. The sad truth is, the youth is put in a system where they made to be useful until they useless. I said fuck school, these books truthless. I'm just the same old grit, smoke piff and make music.
Same old Christians in a new set of clothes. Got y'all wishing I spare the change, but I won't. Y'all gon' listen, it's from the brain to the soul. Must I mention we not the same? Same old Christians in a new set of clothes. Got y'all wishing I spare the change, but I won't. Y'all gon' listen, it's from the brain to the soul. Must I mention we not the same?
Peace I keep, I be shade. Tryna be decent in these days. Supreme off the backboard loop by East Bay. Shine like quasars, grind like eight palms. I carry it all with the iron back. I sip Sapporo out the iron flask. Give a man a rest, trying to manifest. I search the database for loops that your data play. I can tell you madam raised, cause every conflict you take the lad away. Shorty one freak, I think she ate the devil fruit. I think Shaitan testing you. You start to eat right, MCs look like vegetables. Hoes wanna bless me cause the raw medleys. These rappers store friendly, you put yourself in a pickle. Trying to bag it down with a nickel. My faith in God ain't a ritual. My way of life isn't straight a trife, came from Adam. I'm trying to feel what the air up there feel like, so I imagine.
Not the same.
Not the same.
Project. The world famous. Now, how do you pronounce the director's name? Because I don't want to mess it up.
Savo.
Savo, okay.
You know, that's not his real name, but I believe that's how you kind of pronounce, his director name. I believe, again, another Japanese brother who came over to Canada recently, who, you know, just mad talented. Just he pulled up with like 6 different cameras, and he was like, "Yeah, let's just have some fun with it." We're like, "All right, bet." Yeah.
Nice. Linking up with the talent.
Yeah, you know, that's kind of a great thing about Toronto is that the talent comes from so many different places, and again, from places that you might not expect to find it. You know, you talking about, you know, even me and Cedar. I remember the first time I met Cedar. He didn't speak very much English at all. It was straight Japanese. And so, you know, to see that friendship and relationship grow into what it is today, it's like, you know, we started off just him playing a beat, and me and him just both looking at each other like, with that little disgusted face, disgusting good type of face. We both the music spoke for us. So yeah,
Universal.
sometimes when you least expect it.
Yep. The next track on the project, "Love Won't Save You."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that track is that track might be the most like reminiscent track I've ever written. Talking about kind of some of my earlier beginnings, back in Brampton and stuff like that. And just kind of the fact that like there's to a certain extent, love won't save you all the times. Growing up in certain communities and certain areas and stuff like that. And again, I think that's just a universal kind of tale that I wanted to touch on. And I just love the juxtaposition between such a lovey-dovey romantic sample, but it having to do nothing to do with love, because love ain't gonna save you. So
straight reality on this one.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the last track, Born King, Mathematics a Lie. Being.
Yep. Yeah, that track was really just I think it was the perfect closer. It was to me a very obscure beat, a very obscure sample that I found. It was like a Stevie Wonder, it was a Japanese Stevie Wonder cover that I stumbled across. And yeah, I again, one of those ones where you fall in love with the sample so much, you kind of flip it into your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was really just talking about what life was like now. It was kind of a good back end to what the track before it was, and just I think a good way to close out the project. Yeah, and then I had to get my educator to drop some jewels. On him, building about what he thought about kind of what it means to be supreme being, and just at the end of the day, I think a big part of rap music is the education. We kind of call that one of the last elements of hip hop. There's b-boying, graffiti, rapping, DJing, but knowledge is one of them. And so to be able to give people a platform to get that knowledge, I think is important. As an artist, yeah.
Yep. And I like how you had it build up with the guitar, and then it goes into Born King speaking.
Yeah.
I got to give, a shout out to people like Born King, because they continue to bridge the gap with the older gods and the young gods. And it's similar with the music that DJ Muggs has been doing throughout the recent years.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of young artists that he's working with.
Yep. Yeah, most definitely. Now, Born King has been a staple figure, in Toronto, in Canada, period. Because he goes from Toronto to Ottawa to Montreal to, he's kind of all over the place, to Hamilton, like, and being able to spread that knowledge and again, I think within the nation there's a little bit of a stigma behind rap gods, because there's so many of them who don't actually have the knowledge and who don't teach it right and exact and stuff like that. But what I love about my educator is he completely meets you in the middle. Because at the end of the day, it's about spreading something that's positive.
Yep.
And then on the music tip, it's like, like I said, who he is in the music industry. He's gotten me in front of certain people that you wouldn't even, I personally wouldn't have ever, it's something that you think about as a kid. And it's funny because, I was just telling them the other day, I was like, I I don't really care so much for like being in the same room as so and so. Like it's getting kind of like boring now, you know, God. Like, you know, it's like it's cool and all, but like, you know, I don't know. So yeah, so you know, he's definitely helped me out a lot and helped out a lot of us, you know, Bakers Club especially, early on, getting to the right rooms and bridge that gap between old and new.
Yeah, big shout out to Bakers Club.
Yep.
Definitely.
They've been, you know, kind of holding the torch on our side of the rap scene for so long now. Definitely like a huge influence to me. I still remember the first time I heard Raz, you know, just streaming his music, and then I also remember the first time I saw him live, and I was mind blown both times.
I remember, I think it was last year, I put up a video on Twitter of the Magneto was right series, because I have all of them on vinyl, and he caught wind of it and hit me up, and then he went and shared it on IG and everything.
Yeah. No, Raz is solid. He's, you know, he's very much a man of the people, and you know, I know he appreciates even just like the slightest amount of you know, support for what he's doing and for what we're doing out here in Canada.
Yeah, I've even, you know, I've caught a few of his IG lives, and just his whole spirit, you know, is to be highly appreciated coming from a young man like himself.
Yeah, 100%. It definitely he definitely teaches a lot of us, especially as we, you know, try to kind of follow in his footsteps in a certain way. You know, he definitely teaches you how to be a humble dude. You know, a humble dude who's just the nicest guy in the world. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Will anybody in Toronto be seeing you perform the world famous anywhere?
No, as of right now, that might change, but the next time you will see me perform the world famous will be out in New York in June.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Might see you in person.
Okay, yep. Yeah, there you go.
Dope.
Yeah, and more info about all that will be on the Instagram and whatnot. We'll make sure we get the right people out there.
I'll definitely keep an eye on that. Nice. So where does Christopher Jose see himself with all this talent? You know, are you looking to build your own collective with the people that have been constantly on your projects?
Yeah, I mean, a collective, a formed collective might not be some, but definitely, you know, just again, like with my art as a whole and kind of my approach to life as a whole, is, you know, picking and choosing what you like and sticking with it. So, you know, as those collaborators continue to grow, you know, the dudes like Grandpa Scooter and, you know, those cats who've been rocking with me from way back, you know, they'll make reappearances and stuff like that. So, you know, that I like to think that that the collectiveness is there, but it's not really a collective.
Got you.
Yeah.
I was saying family, sorry.
Oh yeah.
And throughout this interview, I've been putting up the link for your Linktree as well as your Instagram and also Spotify for all those that have been tuning in. But definitely go to the Linktree. They'll have all the links for the world famous there. And, you know, thank you, Chris. You know, I enjoyed 100%. This.
Thank you, man. Yeah, that was a great conversation.
I always enjoy artists like yourself that show how driven they are, and also that passion and willingness to absorb, like you did with, you know, so many parts of hip hop and the music as well.
Thank you, G. Appreciate that.
So for the people that are tuning in, let them know where you can also be a contacted.
Yeah,
Check
my main social is on Instagram. It's Christopher Jose, JOSE _. That's where I do most of my communicating with, with social media, and you'll be able to find all the new music, all the shows, all the videos, all of that's on there.
There it is. Chris Jose, repping Toronto.
Yep. Thank you.
Appreciate it. And as always with the music, anytime you want to come back, let me know.
Oh, 100%. We'll be back.
Definitely. And Grit, whenever, I told you before, come back whenever.
Oh yeah.
And the same thing with a lot of the people that you work with, Chris. If they want to come and speak with me, let me know.
Oh yeah, we'll do. I know some of these brothers got lots to share that can help a lot of people. A lot of other artists and stuff like that. So most definitely, I think that's what your platform is about, based on what I've seen, and we'll make that happen.
All right, appreciate that, and I'll continue to let people know about your music as well.
Peace, brother.
All right. So on behalf of HHDG Media, we're gonna say peace.
Peace.